So just need to wait. There we go. That should be us live now. I think.
Okay.
I think it's working. I just need to wait for it to come up on YouTube. Yeah, there we go. That says we're live.
Okay.
Okay then.
It's your house, buddy. Do the introductions.
Okay, and welcome to the live stream that was supposed to happen last week. But we made the fucking stupid mistake of assuming it was going to be on our own time zones, and we didn't clarify it. So that was an absolute rookie mistake that we definitely should have clarified, but we didn't. But yeah, here it is. It's finally happened just now anyway. But probably should have discussed beforehand the topics, because I know that me and you hash it out on Twitter an awful lot as well. Basically, I know that me and you have massive. Obviously, there are areas that we agree upon.
Yeah.
But there are areas specifically in regards to freedom of speech that we have huge disagreements with. You're obviously of the position that anything that could be classified as a hate speech should be outlawed in its entirety. Is that...
Let me clarify my position on hate speech.
Yeah.
Because I think that I've done a few videos on it, and I'm trying to be more specific. So here's my proposition in terms of hate speech.
Yeah.
My concern on the issue is about public discourse. I'm not interested in what people say in private. I'm not interested in what people say in public when it's not related to politics. Does that sound fair?
No, that is fair.
Are you familiar with the Racial Vilification Act in Australia?
No, that's not something I'm aware of. I know that Australia does have quite strict hate crime laws when it comes to it. I know that there's a lot of animosity between the native Aboriginals of Australia and white people as well. Obviously, any country that white people have just sort of landed on and started murdering the natives, I understand obviously causes high tensions, because sticking a flag in the ground and butchering the locals was British foreign policy for a good few hundred years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I can understand that there can be animosity there based in history. And I know that obviously there can be some racism. There are racist groups in Australia just the same as there is in any country. But there are parts of it that I don't. Obviously, my position is that I don't agree with racism in any way, shape, or form. I don't agree with the whole historical element of it, because I understand in the past a lot of terrible things did happen. White people did do a lot of shit things in the past, but my position is that was in the past, and those people are long since dead. And I just don't see why the predecessors of those people, the sins of the father pass on to the son and stuff like that. It's just that I don't see why the position's held that modern day white people need to pay for the actions of people who've been dead for 100 years. Like that's the thing that I don't find fair.
Oh, I'm not proposing that hate speech laws only apply to white people.
No, I know that nobody. It's just history. Obviously, see, if you look at history, we can look at great things like Leonardo da Vinci and all these beautiful, amazing things and everything that happened in history. But history was fucking horrible. History was a fucking horrific and brutal time. People were just slaughtered en masse and stuff like that. Like, there was just wars fought for stupid fucking reasons and stuff like that as well. There was a lot of history was extremely barbaric, right? But it's just that I know that you've got a lot of people just now that are trying to say that obviously Nazi ideology is passed down to like modern day, right? And a lot of people saying that I'm denying that Nazis exist. I'm not denying Nazis exist. There are people that strongly believe in Nazi ideology. I've met them. I've spoke to them. Fortunately, they are a minority. And my position is that even as far as like hate speech laws and stuff like that go, everyone says Nazis shouldn't be given a platform. Nazis shouldn't be able to, exercise their right to free speech to preach their views and stuff like that. And that's the area that I disagree with. I think they absolutely should. Because
go ahead.
It's just see, as far as Nazi ideology goes, like they are a minority, and I believe the reason that they are a minority is whenever they do go public and they actually express their views and opinions to the public, the vast majority of the public go, "That's fucking nonsense. Fuck off." We're not adopting that. That literally has no place whatsoever in a modern society, right? But I think that, see, when you start attacking their right to speak that, and see how what you said, where they can discuss it in private, I personally don't want that. I don't want the fact that there are actual genuine Nazis out there and we have absolutely no idea who they are. That's my problem. But then
here's the thing with what you just said. I mean, there's a lot of Antifa that dox people based on that same principle of like, you can't be a private Nazi. I have no interest in supporting doxing. You can hate whoever the fuck you want. I don't care. You can talk whatever shit you want. I don't care. If you start running for office or you form a political party premised on racial, ethnic, gender, so forth, vilification, dangerous unpersoning language, now you're trying to attain power over like the state's monopoly on violence, and you're using, you see how the ingredients are very specific, but they can lead to a very bad place?
Yeah. But it's just the thing is, though, see if you actually outlaw all forms of hate speech, and the hate speech is used as a very blanket term, right? It's usually applied to a lot of things that they just simply don't want people saying. Like, say, for example, if someone like was walking down the street and screaming things like, "I hate niggers," right? In my eyes, okay, that's hate speech, right? You're directly insulting people and saying that they're obviously inferior. Like saying nigger, obviously, is pushing an inferiority onto that race. Right, yeah. So that I would class as hate speech. I don't feel it should be punishable by law. But see, whenever you have people actually outwardly saying opinions and stuff like that, then obviously we know who the racists are. See, if you totally outlaw that completely, people will run for office and they personally know what their intentions are, as well as the people closest to them, but the general public don't. And see, when the general public don't know that person's intentions, they might fucking vote for them. They could be voting a Nazi in and they've got absolutely no idea that what they're voting in. And as soon as that Nazi gets in and gets power, they're going to start changing some fucking rules. Like, that's where I've got a problem with it. I think it's important to have those people in the public eye so we know who they are.
Remember that they never directly insert themselves into power. They speak into the ear of powerful people. So someone like Richard Spencer, keep an eye on that guy. Richard Spencer is just a few degrees away from the president's ear. That guy Bannon, that's the second in command to the president of the United States.
Yeah,
they're from the same circle of people, and I guarantee you that, you know, we already have on record that Bannon is a white nationalist. Yeah, and he shares a lot of ideas with Spencer. So he's not going to make Spencer president. He'll get someone like Trump elected on neutral racial dog whistling, and then he'll be the guy behind the scenes slowly nudging this program, this white nationalist program behind. Oh, it's an immigration ban. It's not about Muslims. Oh, it's a religious freedom thing. It's not about gay people. You know what I'm saying? That's going to happen regardless. But they'll never show their own face, whether it's legal or not. They'll always do it in this underhanded manner.
Right. So it's a case of saying you're suggesting that Steve Bannon is sort of the Rasputin and Trump is the Russian Queen.
I think there's a lot of evidence to support the idea that, I mean, the guy has a formal position as the senior advisor to the president of the United States. I don't think it's too conjectural to assume that the guy has sway over the president's policy platform.
Okay, but in regard to, obviously, Richard Spencer and stuff like that, we know that the ultimate end goal of the alt-right is a white ethno-state. That's the ultimate end goal. It's just,
sure, of course.
It's just that, see if, for example, say that Bannon did manage to whisper a few things. I don't know much about Steve Bannon, so I can't confirm. I've heard the name, but I don't know too much about him, so I can't, agree or disagree on that. But if Trump actually did turn around and says, everyone here that isn't a white person, we're sending you away, like, that's never going to work. The public are going to.
Oh no, they'll never call it that, buddy. They'll never call it that. They'll always do baby steps. I think people sort of perceive Nazi Germany in terms of one day Hitler stood up and was like, fuck Jews, and then he killed Jews. It's so incremental. And it's so implicit. Everything's implicit. They'll never out and out, unless they have a full military dictatorship. They won't use even you know, the Philippines dictator. I mean, president, where the hell he is, Duterte.
Yeah, I'm aware of him. Yeah.
Watch that motherfucker talk about the genocide that he's committing under the guise of his drug war, and you will hear him use a bunch of polite terms to describe the Holocaust that he's committing. He'll never say why he's doing it. He'll always say these people are drug dealers, just like Hitler. You know, his whole thing was that the Jews were criminals. You know what I mean? Not that they were Jews and he was fucking them because they were Jews. He was talking about how they were, loan sharks.
Yeah. I do know, obviously there's lots of things, like ever since like I did that Nazi punk video, I speak to a lot of Jewish people and stuff like that as well, and
yeah,
obviously I'm not buying into any of that, the Jews secretly run the world sort of stuff and all that, like, but it's just that I know that even the Philippines guy actually did say he would do something similar to what Hitler did. That's obviously not a direct quote, but he did say Hitler. When he said it, right? He says that Hitler did it to the Jews, I'm going to do it to drug dealers, right? Yeah. And obviously that's something that I don't agree with at all. I do believe that, you know, depending on the type of drug the person's dealing, then obviously they should be arrested and they should face an appropriate punishment.
Right.
Right. But not a fucking genocide. That's a hell of a thing to kill somebody for. Right.
But did you follow how Duterte came to power? Because the guy came to power through legitimate democratic means. He didn't commit a military coup. He rode the platform of hate speech into office and then executed a genocide.
Yeah, but they don't have things like, for example, like in the UK, we've got something called the House of Commons and the Houses of Parliament. Like, for example, our PM at the moment is Theresa May. If Theresa May just turned around out of the blue and says, everybody just start loading up the trains and build the camps, like, she would immediately be ousted from power. That's why the House of Commons and Parliament exist. They can override anything that they feel that wouldn't benefit the whole that's done by the Prime Minister. And it's just that even any country, like, see, for example, if America just out of the blue kicked out every single foreigner that they have, the country would fucking crumble. Every single person who's not white, the country would absolutely crumble. And even I don't know why the alt-right don't seem to realise that, because like a lot of the positions and jobs are held by foreign people. You would absolutely annihilate the economy. You would completely fuck the market. It would be basically nationalistic suicide for them to just suddenly turn around and kick people out. And I don't know if it's going to be a case of they would try and do it through a slow process and stuff like that. But even if that is the case, the alt-right would be rejected completely by the majority. And it's a case of, see, even if some of them do have extreme views, like I know that the alt-right, the original basis of it was, oh, we want an ethno state and stuff like that as well. But there are Nazis in their ranks, but those Nazis try and stay quiet because they know that if they get discovered, the alt-right expel them.
Yeah,
right? But the alt-right would get rid of them. But that's the thing as well. That's the part that I don't like. I want Nazis and stuff like that to be able to be public with their views so that we know who they are, so that we can see, like, that's just my main issue. I don't want a threat that I can't see. Like, that's why I feel if they want to march through the streets and Zeke Heileman saying that they want to like gas the Jews and all this kind of stuff, then I want them to be able to do that, because I want to know who the fuck they are, so that if any of them or any of their members run for office, I can look at them and say, I know what your fucking intentions are. I'm going to let everybody else know what your intentions are to make sure that you don't get voted into power, because you being in power will not in any way benefit this country and only serve to make people suffer just because you have some personal little disposition about your pure white country and stuff like that. That's my biggest issue. But some of the areas of the alt-right, I can understand their stance on it. Basically, the main area being there is a massive difference in culture. There is huge differences in culture, and a lot of people want mass immigration. They want people to come in, and they can say that, oh, our white identity is being threatened and stuff like that. It could come to a point where it can get to that if mass immigration keeps up. I'm fine with immigration. I'm not fine with mass immigration to the point where the economy and the job market just completely can't keep up with it. Because I know foreign people that migrated from their countries to come to Glasgow. They thought, oh, we're going to have a better life, we're going to have this, we're going to have that, and then they come here and realise that there's no fucking jobs. Just because mass immigration has got to a point where our economy and job market cannot keep up, and basically ends up, because they come here, because they're then entitled to benefits, so they're given basically free handouts from the government, which. And a lot of them do it by choice. A lot of them come here just for the free handouts, but a lot of them come here to work, but they have no choice but to take these free handouts to survive, and that then paints them in a really bad light, because they just get tarred with the same brush as, oh, you're just coming here to reap the benefits of this country and take free handouts and stuff, even though the majority of them are like, no, fuck you, I came here to work. It's not my fault there's no jobs.
Right.
Like that's the area that obviously causes animosity between people, because people see the migrants as the freeloaders when it's not exactly 100% their fault. It's a case of mass immigration is at a level where it's completely unmanageable and the job market just absolutely cannot keep up, right? And that's going to cause a divide between people. Like, people are going to hate the immigrants for coming over here, and they're blaming them for taking all the jobs. And a lot of immigrants do have jobs here, but a lot of them don't, and a lot of them it's through no fault of their own.
Yeah.
Even at that, even though we can see through that, like, we know you want to work, we know you want to contribute, help the country. A lot, your average ignorant person isn't going to see it as that, and they're going to go fucking freeloading immigrants and like all this shit. Like, if people want to come over here and live in the UK, I have absolutely no issue with it, but it needs to be done at a rate that is actually manageable.
See, but that's a technocratic concern. You can't conflate that with white identity. Has nothing to do with politics or technocracy whatsoever. It has nothing to do with rates of immigration or tax policy or labor or any of that stuff. They use the language of technocratic politics to just implement this white identity theory, this invading barbarians narrative, which is a very old form. I come from New York City, and I am the son and grandson of immigrants, and I've been through the whole. You guys don't assimilate. You guys are lazy. You come for welfare, and I assimilated just fine. The thing with immigrants is that most immigrants do not assimilate in the same generation that they arrive. Their kids, their grandkids, their great grandkids. You got to give these Muslim kids, I'm sure you have friends that are not fresh immigrants that are Muslim. I mean, they're pretty mainstream, right?
Well, I do have friends that are Muslim. I've got friends that are Jewish and stuff like that as well. Like, I think it depends on the culture of the country. Like, say, for example, Israel. If you remove the whole religious aspect of Israel pretty much operates just the same as any other Western country, albeit obviously it is a very, very secular state. But it's a case of, like, a lot of Muslim people come to Britain, and a lot of them do assimilate and adopt into the culture as well, but a lot of them refuse because their religion basically forbids them to forgo any part of that religion. And that's why I've came to the conclusion that Islam itself overall absolutely has to modernize.
Let me ask you, why are Orthodox Jews allowed to exist in their own communities in the Western world without any pressure to Westernize? Why don't they ban the yarmulke? Why don't they?
Because Orthodox Jews aren't mowing us down with fucking trucks. That's why Orthodox Jews aren't a problem. Like, they're not committing terrorist acts. Their religion doesn't command them to commit terrorist acts against non-believers and the filthy kuffar. Like, that's why Islam is the priority religion at the moment that has everyone's attention. Buddhists aren't killing people. Jews aren't killing people.
Oh, Buddhists are committing. If you go to Bangladesh, Buddhists are committing a genocide against the native people in Bangladesh, buddy. Ethnic cleansing. You would read the doctrine of Buddhism, and you would not see any instructions to engage in genocide. And yet, any religion can be used as a veil. It has nothing to do with the religion. It has to do with the people wielding the ideology.
Yeah, but that's happening in a separate country. Like, obviously I don't agree with that. I don't agree with a genocide in any way, shape or form. But the fact is, in Britain, we have a huge problem with Islamic terrorism. And the thing that is shit, like a lot of the people that are coming to Britain are economic migrants. Like the way the laws work is if your country is at war and you're fleeing, you're supposed to go to your nearest neighbouring, safest country. And even though these people actually do have the option to go there, they're choosing to come to Britain, Germany, Sweden, and all that instead, because this is where the money is, this is where the better life is, even though a lot of them come here, realise there's no fucking jobs because we've brought in too many immigrants and the job market can't keep up. So they end up living in poverty. And a lot of them come here with nothing but their religion. And I see because of all there is existing hatred and hate crime laws and stuff like that. And then also people coming here and coming on benefits because they have no choice causes animosity. When there's animosity from white people towards Muslims for their religion, that's going to push them further into their own religion, right? But even though, like, a lot of people, like, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this into words. It's like, even though Muslims want to come here and have a better life, ISIS and terrorist cells are abusing the really lax immigration laws we have to come to this country with the intention of committing terrorist acts. And that's why whenever it was Trump's ban wasn't a Muslim ban, it was a nation ban. It was people from specific nations that were banned from coming into the country, like Iran, for example. And everybody knows that America and Iran have had a huge fucking problem with each other for a long time. Right, so that means even Christians or Jews living in Iran, although I don't imagine there would be many of them, would also be banned as well. Even if someone was an Iranian atheist, they would be banned as well. It wasn't specifically a Muslim ban. There was countries that I feel should have been on the list because they are a hotbed for terrorist cells. Those are the countries I believe should have been on it. It's like, the fact is as well, like, people from China coming here don't give a crap. People from Russia coming here don't give a crap. People from India coming here don't give a crap. Like, that's absolutely fine. But see if people are coming here from a country that is a breeding ground for terrorists who are going to abuse the immigration system to get into the UK with the intent of committing terrorist acts, that is when I would have a problem. That's when I would say that's fair enough. And I know it's not fair. I know there are people who are coming to Britain with genuine and honest intentions, and it's totally not fair on them that they are being denied the ability to come here and build a better life because these radicalized Muslims are ruining it for them. And I understand that that's shit, and I understand that it's not fair, but it's a sad reality. Like, it's a case of, and even though it is a nationalist view, we need to take care of our own people first. And it's not just white people that are at risk. Like, here, it's even immigrants from other countries who come here who are still at risk from basically like terrorist attacks. Like, do you not feel? I know obviously your opinion on Trump, you absolutely fucking loathe the guy, but do you not feel that there is a bit of a, like, do you understand why he had to do that ban?
I think that ban was a political gesture to his base. I think that ban was a lazy form of immigration policy. I want to see better vetting. I do want to see technocratic advances in people's the process of bringing people into Western countries. Sure, but I don't want to hear that fucking argument about Islam is incompatible with the Western world, because that argument is so familiar. Before the Second World War, it was Jews are incompatible with the Western world. You can do the research on this, particularly during the First World War, on the end of the 19th century. Every single talking point you hear today about the threat of Islam and the intrinsic malignancy in their culture was parroted back in the day. Jews are greedy. Jews are animals. They come here to fuck our women. They come here to breed with our women. These are all very old talking points. If your concern is about labor, then make an argument about labor saturation in the market. Don't make an argument about Western culture and white culture and all that stuff. That's a social issues argument.
But the difference in regards to that is, obviously, if people said those things about Jewish people, you can actually look at the information and look at the Jewish religion and look at the way Jews conduct themselves, and then based on logic, you can look at that and go, wow, I realize that actually none of that is true, and you can identify that those points are complete bullshit. But then you've got areas of Islam, which countries that actually force women to wear the hijab and everything, which is a form of oppression, flat out oppression. And there's countries that actually have that as law. A lot of Muslim countries have that. And there's even ones as well where it's like a woman can't go out in public on her own If a woman even speaks to another man, like, she can actually be punished under Sharia law. Like, that's where I have huge fucking problems. Those areas are not compatible with Western civilization. They are a form of oppression of an entire gender. A lot of the cultures don't even see women as people. They are the property of their husbands and fathers, like, to be traded off and bartered with, you know, for points and for other, you know, large families and stuff, sort of like Game of Thrones.
Okay.
You know, like,
was that the position of the United States and Britain 100 years ago? Were women treated that way? Were women not allowed to vote? Were they not allowed to own property? Were they not allowed to dress a certain way? Were they treated by Christian fundamentalists the same way that Islamists treat their women now in the Western world?
That absolutely was the case with us 100 years ago, but we modernized. Islam hasn't.
But that's what I'm saying. You need to give them a chance to modernize. Do you believe this is going to be the case 100 years from now, that there's not going to be any modernization in the Muslim world?
Right. See, in regards to it, see if it was a case of it was a very, very small problem, right? It's a case of, like, for example, as well, we obviously had all the grief with Northern Ireland. We had the Troubles, right, where it was the IRA were like bombing Britain, committing attacks against the army, lots of stuff like that as well. It's a lot to go into, right? What happened was we reached an agreement with the IRA and stuff like that. The IRA agreed to disassemble. Now, those feelings of hatred are still there. Trust me, holy shit, they're still there. But we haven't had an IRA attack. We've tried to appease them and everything. We came to an understanding. Like, see, the main thing that ISIS want is for everyone in the world to be living under Allah. If you aren't living under Allah, then they are going to kill you. I mean, they upload videos of themselves beheading people, executing people and stuff like that. Even fellow Muslims and stuff like that, just because, you know, they aren't the right kind of Muslim and everything like that as well. And these are the people that are trying to abuse the immigration system to come to the UK. I mean, see how the countries like Saudi Arabia, you can get your fucking hand cut off for stealing. How can that be considered as compatible with Western civilization? It's barbaric. Like, even
I would. Yeah, go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
It's even things like child brides and stuff like that as well. I absolutely do not want to see anything like that in Western civilization, right? And that's the fact as well. There's lots of people that are coming here and they want Sharia law. There's even like Sharia streets and everything like that as well. It's a case of, like, Islam, there's facets of religion that I'm totally fine with. You want to pray to a god, you want to fast during Ramadan, do you want to celebrate Christmas? That's absolutely fine, because you're a grown adult and that is 100% your choice. But see, when you start saying, oh, by the way, fuck gay people and let's persecute gays, that's when I would draw the line and say, you're free to practice your religion right up until you try and use it to infringe on another person's individual liberty.
But that hold on, that has nothing to do with immigration, and that has to do with society.
It does when people are abusing the immigration system to come over here and kill people for not following their religion.
Hold on, but they're subject to the laws of your land. They're the subject to the laws of your land. All you have to do.
Yeah, terrorism's illegal. It doesn't stop people from doing it.
Right, but all you have to do, this concept that Sharia law is going to come to the West, is somewhat absurd to me, in that, you know, just like you don't think Spencer can take the parliament, why is it that Islam can take the parliamentary system and crush and replace?
It's not a case of they're doing it through, you know, Spencer and stuff like that are obviously trying to do it through, you know, democratic means, let's call it. They're trying to get their people voted into, you know, positions of power and stuff like that, where they can enact the laws. Consider, you know, how the whole Neverwinter Nights behavioural chart, like, Spencer, you could probably say is lawful evil, if you want to call it that. He's trying to, you know, obviously do things that I would say are quite bad, but he's trying to do it through democratic means. Whereas Islam, on the other hand, there was Muslim neighbourhoods that just one day decided, we're going to make this neighbourhood a Sharia law neighbourhood and fuck anything that the police think. Right? There was cases of girls who were walking through, totally not Muslim, white girls walking through these neighbourhoods, and because they were wearing things a wee bit too revealing, they were approached by these guys and accosted. They were called sluts, they were called kuffar, and all this other stuff as well. Right? And it's a case of, as well, as far as hate crime laws go in the UK, see if you have Muslims doing stuff like that and saying racist things to white people and stuff like that as well, these people aren't charged for it. But see, if a white person turned around to them and says, "Oh, fuck off, you fucking Muslim," that white person would be arrested immediately. So see, because people are treated...
Wait a minute. In the UK, Muslims are exempt from Western law? The police just go, they're Muslim. Go ahead, buddy. Take a walk. Fuck my wife.
No, holy shit, yes, they are. There was even a video that circled around not long ago of there was I don't know if it was a car accident or something. I think a white guy driving his car, I think, bumped into the back of another car that was driven by a Muslim. He got out, he started screaming, saying that, "I bet you eat pork because you're all fucking pigs and white pigs," and stuff like that. And then the Muslim guy tried to spit on the white guy's wife. Not a single arrest was made. Now, see if that was a white guy who got out and went, "Oh, fucking Muslims, fuck you," and then
hold on.
Immediately.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're telling me that the police, as a matter of law, have been directed by the UK government to let Muslims run riot through your society? I don't understand. Is there anything other than anecdotal proof that there's some kind of written down law that Muslims have their own exemptions for anything?
Well, the proof is in the facts themselves. I obviously don't have any kind of like email or recording of a secret meeting where the police just decided not to do it. But it's the fact is, in Britain, and there's loads of examples as well, like obviously Rotherham, there was Muslim rape gangs actually preying on and raping young girls, and the police didn't act on it because they didn't want to come across as racist.
I mean, again, that's all. Listen, hold on, Dankula. That is inference. That is inference. Hold on. There is no physical proof that the police in Rotterdam were not enforcing the law. There are assumptions about political maneuvering to avoid portraying Muslims as rapists. But there is not. Again, I want someone like Tommy Robinson to stop making assumptions and start presenting evidence that somehow there's some foothold of Sharia law. I cannot take somebody serious.
As far as rape goes, I don't attribute that to being a Muslim. I don't attribute like you're a rapist because you're a Muslim. I attribute that to people coming from a country that has pretty much next to no infrastructure whatsoever. I mean, if you come from a country where the police are either very lax or just plain non-existent or too scared to actually deal with certain crimes and everything. I mean, if you get to a point where you can kind of just go walk around the streets doing whatever the fuck you want, and you've grew up with that mindset, and then you come to a country where the police are strict, the police will arrest you, you will go to fucking jail if you fuck up. People are coming over here doing stuff like that because they've been raised in like an environment where, oh, this kind of thing is totally okay.
I mean, look, that's a poverty problem. That has nothing to do with religion. That's a poverty problem. I guarantee you, German.
It wasn't to do with religion. Okay. I said that I don't attribute being a rapist to being a Muslim. I don't think like you're a Muslim, therefore you're a rapist. Yeah. Like those things don't go hand in hand. Because I mean, you've got people from Africa there are non-Muslim parts of Africa, and then you get people like that as well. Like we still obviously have rapists here in the UK. It's something that actually does happen here in the UK.
Yeah.
Right, but it's a case of we have like the reason it doesn't happen anywhere near as much as in these other countries is because we have police who will fucking holy shit, rape convictions are usually 100% just now but then there's obviously the whole messy area of is the girl lying and all this kind of stuff as well. But see if they find proper evidence that a guy did in fact rape a girl, that guy is getting jail, and he's getting jail for a long time. Right.
Okay, so which one, hold on, which one is it in the UK? Muslims are above the law, or Muslims are subject to a very extreme form of prosecution for rape? Which one is it?
Hate crime laws do not represent white people anywhere near as fairly as minorities. That's the point I'm making.
Hold on, expand on that, go ahead.
Well, for example, I spoke about it in my last video. There are people that are actually serving a 3-year and a 2-year and 3-month sentence for sending mean tweets on Twitter. But there was another case of, I think he was a Pakistani gentleman, and what happened was he actually spit in the face of a 9-month-old baby, looked the mother in the eye and screamed, "White people shouldn't breed," and he got
hold on. Wait a minute, what's your source on that? Because you could have read that off the front of Breitbart.com and it would have been highly embellished, or it could have been twisted.
It actually wasn't Breitbart. Just give me a moment, 2 seconds. I think it was the Independent. Actually, in fact, here it is. Yeah,
I mean, the Independent is a proper source. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's not a left to right thing, because there are left wing news sources that are hyperbolic too. My concern is about a news source that presents data. You know?
Yeah, but you don't need to represent data on that. You just have to go to the courtroom, listen to everything that gets said, and then observe the result. There's no data representative of that.
You need if you're going to make policy, you need statistics, buddy.
Yeah,
you can't take an outlier and say this is Muslims run riot. This one guy got off with spitting on somebody. We need how often that's happened. If it's a systematic problem, then there's a systematic solution. If it's one dickhead, then he has to go to jail. Or if he got off, it's a bug. It's not an institutional problem.
That's not a bug. See if any white guy spat on a Pakistani baby and looked the mother in the eye and said Pakistani women shouldn't breed. Holy shit, he would be going to prison for a long fucking time.
You earlier made the case on why white people should be more harshly subject to these laws in these post-apartheid states, because there's a historical problem with the majority oppressing these minority groups to the point of killing them en masse, and you don't want to backslide. I mean, again, I live in a post-apartheid state, and I know that not the UK, but like you said, Australia is a post-apartheid state, and in those scenarios, you kind of are going to end up having to be more severe around white people because they are the majority. And if somebody's going to kick off a genocide, it's not 6 Muslims living in an apartment. It's going to be, the people who represent 90% of the population.
Okay, and it's just that white people aren't mowing down or blowing up like Muslims. Like we're not going to Muslim countries as terrorist cells to try and kill them.
Whoa, hold on. You're telling me that the West isn't committing mass murder in Muslim countries?
War is different.
No, it's not.
War is different.
Hold on, buddy. You're from Scotland. Mm-hmm. Hold on now, God damn it. Are you a royalist, my friend?
No, I'm not.
And why is that, brother? Why is that? What did the English do to your people? And that's war. The mass murder of the Scots by the English were legal. That was a campaign of war, and you know that was bullshit. That was an injustice.
Yeah, that was hundreds of years ago. I don't hate English people for what their great grandfather.
No. Wait a minute. I'm not saying. Listen, no one is justified in hating. I did a video against Ghazi Kodo yesterday about this shit of white people have done a lot of wrong shit. That does not justify you now saying you're entitled to kill them or hate them or any of that stuff. People should not. I don't believe in collective punishment, but I am very concerned about the idea that somehow because a murder is legal, I mean, law and justice are not the same thing, buddy.
I think it's definitely a case of obviously see how the fact that war is happening, there's soldiers getting killed. I think if we obviously go to a different country and start shooting at their army and their army starts shooting back, well, both guys kind of entered an agreement there that both of them might die. Right, war, in an ideal world, I would prefer it if war wasn't fucking necessary. I want war to be this archaic thing that we think of and go, Jesus, remember when we used to do that? How stupid were we? Right, I want that to be a total thing of the past. I don't want war. I don't want killing. I don't want hatred. But when you get things like, for example, Muslim culture and stuff like that as well, especially Sharia law, when they come over here, it's not compatible at all with Western civilization. And see if they try and push it on the indigenous people who are, of course.
Wait, hold on.
That's going to generate a hatred, right? Basically, the thing is, see when you have mass immigration and it's people from cultures who refuse to basically become part of our culture. It's a case of there are certain parts of the culture which I don't really care. Like, for example, Muslims want to fast during Ramadan because that's part of their religion. That doesn't affect anyone. That's a personal free choice. They can do that if they want. I don't care. But see, when they're saying things like "fuck gay people," we don't want gay people to have rights. That's when I have a huge problem, because I'm sorry, but gay people are gay people just like everyone else, and they should be given the exact same rights as everyone else. Right? That's what I have.
You've got militant.
You know Islam fucking hates gay people. You know they hate them.
Yes, I know that Orthodox Islam is homophobic. I know that Orthodox Christianity is homophobic. I know that Orthodox Judaism is homophobic. Even Israel does not allow Orthodox Judaism to run shit in their country. America's biggest mistakes have been about us allowing Orthodox Christianity to run shit in this country.
Yeah, but
so it's
lots of Middle Eastern countries allow Orthodox Islam to run their country. That's where I have a huge fucking problem. Where they
hold on, but that's for them to work out. That's got nothing to do with people coming to your country.
We'll tell you what. Then see, once they work it out and they modernize Islam, and they're not going to send people over here who have the intention of killing us, then I'm willing to have a chat. Like, then I'm willing to see if it was a case of Islam just completely modernized and says all this stuff about women are actually slaves and fuck the gays and all this other kind of stuff as well. See, once they totally get rid of that, then I have no problem whatsoever.
Okay. How old are you, Count Dankula? I'd like to know.
I'm 29.
Okay, I'm 36 years old. We're not that far apart in age, but I'm going to ask you a question. Did the West have a problem with Islamic terrorism 30 years ago?
No, but immigration wasn't exactly as bad as it is now.
No, hold on. Did they have a problem with Islamic terrorism 20 years ago?
Nothing that I'm aware of. But I think because 20 years ago it was the IRA, they were our number one focus back about 20 years ago.
No, but you did not have trucks in Sweden running people over 20 years ago. Why was that? What happened about 20 years ago, buddy?
Well, it's because mass immigration hadn't started.
Hold on. What drove those people out of the Middle East? What created ISIS?
Depends who you ask, if I'm being honest. I think it was just people I think it was just mainly religious zealots that wanted to establish an Islamic state, just like Saudi Arabia has.
No. Listen, ISIS is a direct result of the war in Iraq, buddy. ISIS was formed out of the collapse of Iraqi society. Those people were perfectly civilized, and then George Bush came in and blew their society to shit. And then the savages took over. Of course they did. Everything fell apart.
Yeah, but that still doesn't make what they're doing right.
No, wait, no. That's not. Hold on now. Acknowledging institutional reasons for crime is not the same as justifying.
Right.
The reason I quoted those numbers very specifically is that we're very close in age. You and I are well aware of the causal relationship between the war on terror and Arab retaliatory terrorism. I'm not saying it's justified any more than the fucking IRA. I can obviously sympathize with the IRA on the level of understanding the history. The British fucked them, they fucked back. Everybody's wrong in war, even in these paramilitary actions. Yeah. But if we don't acknowledge that ISIS is not a product of run-of-the-mill Islam, because if it was, Islamic people have been immigrating to the West for a long time, and the U.S. doing these drone strikes and stuff, all this sort of war on terror campaign is inflaming this shit.
But it's the fact as well as Islam overall itself did take a turn. Islam did used to be quite moderate. They were obviously quite orthodox, quite strict, like the same as Orthodox Jews are extremely strict in their religion. They're very, very strict. But then you had things like the Iranian Revolution and stuff like that as well. And when that kicked off, and then you had things like the Arab Spring, where it wasn't a case of
hold on now. Wait. You're right.
It wasn't a case of sensible Muslims were in charge anymore. Yeah. Then it became the ultra-Orthodox fucking lunatics. Right.
That point that you just made about the Iranian Revolution is perfect. That is a perfect starting point for the narrative of where this extremist form of Islam took power. That's very accurate. But what was the Iranian Revolution in response to? What were they revolting against?
That's the part I actually don't know.
Okay, so I'm going to submit to you.
I'm aware of the what, not the why.
Okay, the what. Okay, I can't talk about the why. I just want to talk about the what. That's what history is about. The Shah of Iran. Have you heard about this person?
Yeah.
Okay. The Shah of Iran was one of many dictators in the Middle East who was installed by the West. And these dictators had secularist liberal societies, but they were brutally unequal financially, and they were violently authoritarianism. Violently authoritarian, and it was part of this fucking Thatcherite neoliberalism thing. You put in a strong man, you hold down the people, you rob their resources, and the Iranian Revolution was these fundamentalists coming to power. You know, Islamofascists take power just like any other fascist group. During these times of economic oppression and collapse, they come with, you know what? We can restore this society if you subscribe to this my extreme form of ideology. So you are very correct that the Iranian Revolution was the beginning of this fucking problem, and it has not stopped since. But it didn't occur in a vacuum. My concern that I constantly am asserting to people is that people act like this fucking Islamo-terrorism shit didn't come from the West kicking the bee's nest of this of the Middle East.
Okay. But it's even in that regard as well, even though we understand like the origins, like there was Islamic terrorism like before, like going back hundreds of years, but it was like obviously not to the extent it was today. There was cases where like, you know, the non-believers and stuff like that were killed, and then obviously
No, but what I'm talking about is imperial.
Yeah.
Islamo-terrorism is a product of, and again, it's not excused by, but there is a lot of evidence to support the fact that the West is creating these terrorists by destroying existing moderate Muslim societies. What comes up after them is this sort of savage Islamo-fascist.
But even in that regard, why should the general population? Because that I wouldn't say that was the West. I would say that would be the Western governments that actually caused that. But even if that
you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Even if that is the case, then why should we face getting, you know, mown down by trucks and blown up because our government fucked up?
No, hold on. No, you're right. You're right. I'm not talking on a personal level. If we don't fix these institutional problems, meaning that if the first solution to Islamic terrorism is to push against interventionism by Western governments, that's the first step. Not immigration, but making sure that there's not a reason for those people to come here. You need to get the governments out of the business of blowing up Muslims, and particularly the business of killing Muslim civilians. Every time these U.S. drone strikes kill 300 people, they create 600 terrorists. Do you understand my concern?
Well, the thing that bothers me is, say, like, for example, every single country pulled out in the Middle East. Every one of us just pulled all our armies, every soldier, every tank, every drone out of the Middle East.
Yeah.
Do you really think Islamic terrorism would stop?
I think that the same way that the IRS eased up once the British stopped fucking with their society, I think that.
Oh no, we still own Northern Ireland. That's what they wanted. They wanted Northern Ireland to be returned back to the Irish people, and we still have it.
No, but concessions were made. Concessions were made to appease the people. This raw dog ass fucking of Arabs by Western countries, particularly that my concern is about the carelessness of these attacks that kill civilians. If you kill civilians, I don't care what kind of human being they are, Catholic, Jewish, Islamic, you are going to create people with grievance who want revenge. They need to stop fucking with these people. They need to start again. We don't need to subsidize the Middle East, even though it would be fair, because after the Second World War, the United States helped rebuild Europe after they blasted the shit out of it. If you wage a war on a group of people and then don't help them rebuild a civilized society, they're going to act like savages. The answer to this is not about stopping savage, cultures from spreading. It's about addressing them at home at the root.
That is fair, but the fact is it should be their own governments that are doing that. They shouldn't be allowing a secular government to be in place, especially when the religion that secular government follows encourages killing gays and treating women like property. Those are the
hold on, but right now in the Middle East, after 20 years of the war on terror, how many intact governments exist? that weren't bombed out of existence by these simultaneous wars in Yemen, Iraq, all these campaigns.
The main countries I can think of that have really poor infrastructure and are very damaged is we have Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, and Iraq. Those are the four that I can think of. But
what do those countries have in common, buddy?
We didn't technically go to war with Libya, but there's a lot.
Who blew up that country, buddy? Who blew it up?
No, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but I know that the CIA had a big hand in that. Right? I don't want to go down the route of conspiracy stuff, but
proxy wars are not conspiracy theories. They're very well.
Oh, no, the CIA are dodgy cunts. Like, oh, holy shit, I know that. Like, they overthrew a country in South America for over bananas. Like shit. Like, I don't doubt that for a second. I know the CIA are sketchy bastards, right? But like, obviously, there is problems that have came for the Middle East, right? Obviously, like, secular governments have come into power in a lot of countries as well. Like, Iran has hated America for a long, long time. Right? Iran obviously has huge problems with it. And even in that, there's a lot of stuff that America has done that I find completely indefensible. It's a case of, no, you absolutely did fuck up. You fucked up a lot of places in the Middle East and everything as well. And that has in turn turned those countries into, you know, breeding grounds for terrorism. Right? But it's the fact is as well as, even if it was, you know, our own fault, the fault of the British people or the fault of the American people, it's a case of, because of the danger that has been created in the Middle East by America, we still shouldn't let them to come to this country to kill our people. Like, that's why.
No, we should. You're right. We should not allow them to do that. We should not allow them to come and kill people. But we should not make the assumption that that's why people are coming.
No,
none of the statistics.
I know obviously not every single one is coming.
No, not only not every single one, but a majority of the people coming through these immigration programs in Europe are not coming for, as parts of terror cells. The problem is the people that filter in, not the majority of the people. It's the people that filter in, the people that hide in the crowd. Wouldn't you say?
That's true, but I would rather turn away like 100 honest immigrants than let in one terrorist. Because I mean, one terrorist is all it takes to drive a fucking truck and kill lots of people.
Whoa! Hold on a second. You would rather send 100 people back to Assad than let one guy come in that has malicious intention.
That's correct, because we have a duty to our own first. I don't mind providing financial aid to refugees. Like, say, for example, if people wanted to flee to Jordan or Yemen or somewhere like that, and they needed, funds to, like, build houses or like establish themselves or like food aid and stuff like that, I have absolutely no issue whatsoever with providing that kind of aid, because the law says that if your country is in a civil war, you're supposed to go to your nearest neighbouring safest country. Okay, if there's a case of that country, just puts the walls up and goes, no, you're not coming in, I don't mind us providing financial aid to help them get to the next nearest country that will take them in. It's a case of, we don't personally have a duty to help these people. Hold on. We could ignore it if we wanted, but I would like us to help people re-establish themselves if they've been ousted from their homes because they face death. I'm totally fine with us helping, but the fact is, they're not going to Yemen, they're not going to Jordan, they're not going to these other countries, they're coming to Britain, which means that they're not refugees, they're economic migrants, because they stand to make more money here. That's why.
Hold on a second. I'm going to give you a case study. Do you know that Anne Frank was a war refugee who was turned away and sent back to Germany? Do you know what happened to Anne Frank?
I have a whole thing about the Holocaust, right? I have this whole thing where I don't believe for one fucking second that Britain didn't know what was going on. I don't believe for one second that Britain didn't know that the Holocaust was happening. Oh, why are these thousands and thousands of Jews turning up at our borders wanting to get in? Like, well, I wonder what the hell's going on. Or they're all saying something about they're all being killed. Probably nothing to look into there. Let's just send them back, because let's not piss off this new lunatic that's in charge of Germany. But then as soon as places started getting invaded, and then as soon as Britain's fat was going to get put in the fryer, that's when we got involved, right? So that's... I have a huge personal problem with that. I don't believe for 1 second that Britain didn't know the Holocaust was happening. I don't believe that. Like,
do you think that it was do you think it was wrong that Anne Frank got turned away?
I do think it was wrong that Anne Frank got turned away, yes.
Okay, but what's the difference between...
But in the case of that, we were a neighbouring country and we should have taken her, but we didn't, and we were wrong for doing that. We were wrong for doing that, but because that was our duty, she was a neighbouring country just across the sea from us. We should have been able to take her in, and I think the reason that so many people were turned away is because we didn't want to piss off big bad Hitler. But the fact is that back then that was our duty, and we should have fulfilled our duty by keeping the Jews safe and bringing them into our country. Okay, but the fact is, in regards to the Middle East, it's their neighbouring countries, it's their duty. We don't have a duty to let them into our country.
Oh, hold on. Wait. But we don't have
providing financial aid and stuff like that, or providing, even if it's something like vehicles and trucks, we buy and pay for vehicles and trucks to help them get out, or even if we have to, a very small, light militaristic action where it's a case of escorting people safely from the country, I would be fine with that. But employing any kind of military action is fucking messy and causes so many problems. So even if we wanted to do that, it would have to be done so fucking delicately. Right? But the fact is, I'm fine for helping. I'm totally fine for helping them. Because even in neighbouring countries, the culture's quite similar. They still believe in Islam and stuff like that. So there isn't going to be really any, cultural abrasion there and stuff like that as well. So that's fine. But there are people who come here, they don't want to adopt the culture at all. They say, we're going to follow our culture, fuck you. And in some cases, I'm fine with that. But see if any parts of that culture conflict with our own to the point where they want to push it on us or they want to punish us for following our own culture.
But they don't have, but under British law, there is no means by which they can press their culture into yours. It's just not legal.
But they can pass laws to make it illegal to criticize theirs, and that is where it starts.
No. Wait a minute. Criticizing a belief and criticizing individual people are different. Hate speech laws are about saying Muslims, not Islam. The premise of a hate speech law is not about persecuting critics of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It is about being weary of people using that criticism to target Muslims, Jews, and Christians, correct?
That's true. But see, for example, if I said something like Islam preaches misogyny, which it does.
Yeah.
Now, see, to be honest, it probably, if any police officer watches this video, probably depends what kind of mood he's in, but I could probably be arrested for saying that.
But that's highly theoretical. That's highly theoretical.
It's not theoretical. Islam preaches to treat women like property. There's even instructions in it of how to correctly beat your wife. Right?
Hold on now. That's in the Christian Bible too. There's instructions to beat the dog shit out of your kids.
Yeah, that's true. But we modernized and abandoned that facet of religion. Islam has to do the same.
Well, okay. Look at the gas the Jews joke. Okay, let's look at that. You were kidding, and I don't think that you should be prosecuted in any way for that joke. I always want to put that disclaimer in because people are like, people have come to me before and they're like, man, I thought you were friends with Count Dankula. I'm like, I don't want him to go to jail. But here's where they're trying to extrapolate that into hate speech. You use the phrase the Jews.
Yeah.
The Jews are not a religion. The Jews are a people. Do you see why hate speech needs to defend people and not ideas?
It's a case of, I think Jews, to me, Jews, if someone is a Jew, they are a person who follows Judaism. I don't see, like, even if someone's like, see if someone is even from Israel and they say, I'm an atheist, that means they no longer follow Judaism. So to me, that means they're not a Jew. That's like saying, oh, like, if someone's from a Christian country like Britain, like, and they go, oh, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in God anymore, I still wouldn't call them a Christian. Like, that's the...
Oh, wait a minute now. Now, being a Jew is not the same as being a Christian. Now, Christian was never an ethnicity. Jewish people are also specifically a tribe of people from the Middle East. Semites are an actual people. Like there's no such thing as an ethnic Christian. There are ethnic Jews, there are ethnic Croats, there are, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's different. There are no ethnic Muslims.
I think as far as religion goes, I don't think ethnicity should actually be a factor, because there's black Jews as well. I've actually managed to find that there's some black Jews. There's even like white Muslims and everything as well. Like there's black Christians, there's white Christians. I just don't think that, physical race or skin color factors. I think religion's more of a choice, or it could be a product of the country you were raised in. Like, for example, if I was instead born in Iran, then I would probably grow up to be a Muslim. And even though I was born there, I was raised there, would that class me as an ethnic Muslim?
No, but again, these I'm not a race realist, so race is not real. But in the context of Nazi Germany, in the context of that social construct, Judaism was an ethnicity.
Because Hitler said so. Hitler did.
No. Wait a minute. It's not about what Hitler said. Even in Germany before the Nazis, Judaism was culturally accepted as an ethnicity and not just an arbitrary religion.
Yeah, but that sounds more like a created construct and not actually like fact. Like, it's not a fact that they're their own race.
Race is not real. It's never been real, buddy. It's never been real. But I'm just saying that also, hate speech it's abstract, and it's applying to abstract terms, abstract ideas.
I know, but it's a case of like, governments can say things like, "Oh, Jewish people are now a race. It's okay to hate this race," and stuff like that. Like, I think that just because a government says so, it doesn't make them a race. Like, I know that you get like different.
I mean, governments have to make arbitrary classifications, don't they? I mean, that's part of government.
But then wouldn't that be a case of acknowledging and pushing difference instead of just recognizing that everyone's the same?
You can recognize difference. You can't dismiss difference completely from a society. You can recognize difference in a stigmatizing way, or you can recognize it in an affirmative way. As long as it's in an affirmative way, it's not a problem. If you make difference stigmatic, then that's malignant. It's not in the interest of cultural cohesion.
Is it the fact is that culture is what the problem is here? It's not race. Like, I've said to you before, like, I don't. Race has never been a basis for any of my arguments. The color of your skin,
yeah.
The color of your skin is just evolution playing a game of how much vitamin D does this meat sack need, right? Skin color is something that's a non-fucking issue for me. I don't care, but cultural differences is what actually causes the problem. Like, it's like, for example, as well, obviously, if you get places like Africa and stuff like that with poor political infrastructure and stuff like that as well, but I actually had an argument one day with an actual full-on white supremacist who said he tried to say that black people have a lower IQ than white people, and he went, if you look at this survey from Somalia, and I went, from Somalia, but you're a country that has like no educational infrastructure whatsoever, but that's not the problem. They're dumb because they're black. Like, obviously that's the reason.
Oh yeah, listen,
it's nothing to do with the fact that no fucking schools.
Serious scientists do not even take fucking IQ's a joke. That's why they don't give those tests in the West anymore. At least in America, they don't give them because it ended up being IQ ended up being a crock of shit. My issue with all this stuff is the idea that Muslim culture is different from other cultures. Like, the immigrants will change. They will adapt. There is no intergenerational Islam. If you move from an Islamist country to a secularist country and you want to fucking survive and get a job and get a wife and get education, you're not going to retain Islamism in a secularized country. Your kids are going to abandon it because they need to assimilate. People don't assimilate because it's voluntary. People assimilate because it's an inevitability. There has never been a group of people in history that over time did not assimilate into cultures that they immigrated into. This was said about the Jews. It was said about Irish Catholics in the West that they should not be allowed to come into America because the Irish are dogs and their Catholicism is radical and they'll never adapt. It's an old legend. It wasn't true about Irish Catholics. It's not true about Muslims. It's not. That 4 generations from now, the great grandkids are going to be in England and pushing Sharia law. I find that highly implausible.
No, I do. Obviously, I do want people to assimilate. If people want to follow Islam, then they're free to do so, up until the point where the tenets of Islam start to infringe upon personal liberty. Like, one thing that I'm not in favour of is, like, for example, I have a Muslim friend who follows Islam to an extent. He doesn't eat pork. He fasts during Ramadan. He doesn't drink. He doesn't gamble. All personal choices. Knock yourself out. You're a grown man. Do whatever the hell you want. But see how he personally doesn't care about non-believers and he doesn't care about gays. He doesn't give a shit about that. He's extremely moderate. However, see, in the Muslim community and his family that he's part of, he doesn't dare say that. He doesn't dare say that he doesn't hate gay people. Because those people are old-fashioned, but they're gonna fucking die. These are his peers that are the same age as him.
But listen to me.
The same age as him. He's quite a young man.
That culture will die with time. It will moderate under time. It's just that they're new, man. They're just new. Like any immigrant group, they're just fucking immigrants.
These are third generation. They're passing the tenets of Islam down and basically saying, like, oh, the British government's this and the British government's that, and don't let them hold you down. You know, fuck the British government and praise Islam. And I would love for them to assimilate. And you're saying, yeah, eventually they will modernize and eventually they will assimilate into our culture. But how many fucking bodies are going to be lining the path to there? Like, that's
there's no way to preclude that as long as the sentiment that put that fucker in the truck has to do with people being blown up and does not have to do with him being pissed off about miniskirts in the West.
Yeah, but see those people that were walking along that bridge, traveling to Parliament, or that police officer that was guarding Parliament.
But hold on, that guy was mentally ill, buddy. That had nothing to do with religious. That was a lone wolf nut job. That guy was not affiliated with any organizations, and he was. Come on, you can't mark up nut jobs into political terror.
I think when someone shouts Allah Akbar, it kind of gives the impression that religion might have had a little bit of something to do with it.
Hold on, every schizophrenic that ever said they killed for Jesus is a fucking Christian terrorist too.
Well, schizophrenia is apparently a massive problem among Islam. Then.
No. Wait a minute. Now there are attackers. That dude in the truck was not crazy. The guy in Germany in the Christmas festival, that guy was not crazy. He was a fucking terrorist. He was obviously aware of what he was doing. The guy on the bridge in England, I did the research, I did a video on it. That guy was mentally disturbed. He had a history of being mentally disturbed. He was not raised in Islam. He was a convert, and he had a nervous breakdown. A lot of stuff. His wife left him and all that stuff, and that was a reaction. It was just a nut job that was branded Islam. It wasn't animated by him being a lifelong political activist.
But even in that regard, the Bataclan. You've even had the attack in Paris as well. Have you actually seen Paris? It looks like it's under fucking military occupation.
Oh, whoa. Don't wait a minute now with that Lawrence Southern talking point. Hold on now, damn it.
Come on, man. The army is all over Paris. They're everywhere. And that's not something...
But wait a minute. We had that in America. We had that in America for how many years after 9/11? I lived it. I'm in New York. And that was over one goddamn terror attack. We had military in the street for a decade.
That's true, and I know you've still got the TSA and stuff like that as well, right?
That
just goes to show that precautions are being taken against Islamic terrorism. Although 9/11, I won't get into who I actually think did 9/11. I think everyone's kind of on the same page there. But
listen, Dankula. I live arguably in the city where Muslims are the most integrated in the Western world. The only place with a more integrated Muslim population is London.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that's the thing is, like, obviously, like, a lot of people have actually come and assimilated, right? And in New York, I don't know if there's a different paradigm or anything like that there, if they are first generation or sixth generation, and it's obviously
it is very unusual for us to even have traditionalist Muslims here. Everybody's been here so long that Islam is literally like an incidental thing over here. That's why we feel weird when people in Europe are like, Islam is cancer, because we're like, wait a minute, the dude that makes my pizza, the guy that drives my cab, he's just a regular guy.
Okay, and it's just that we don't have that here in Britain.
No, because you just got them. You just got your Muslims.
We haven't just got them. We've had Muslims, and mainly Pakistanis, which is the fact is, like, see for example, if I'm Scottish, so if someone calls me a Scot, I don't care. I don't care if somebody calls me a Scot. Now, the abbreviation for Pakistani would be Paki. Now, the problem is, Paki itself is a racial slur in the UK. It's not seen as an abbreviation. It's seen as a racial slur, and that's been back since the 70s, because we did have a lot of immigration solely from Pakistan back in the 70s and stuff like that as well. So that's how a lot of the people that we have today, who have obviously, you know, they're like fourth or fifth generation and stuff like that, we don't have very many Pakistani Islamic terrorist attacks. Most of them come from Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, and stuff like that as well.
And those people are new. The Pakistanis have had time to become part of
it's a case of, it's just that even if they are new, I don't want to sit there and go, oh, we're just going to need to put up with some terrorist attacks just until you guys get...
No, wait a minute. That's got nothing to do with immigration. Go grab your local law enforcement chief and kick him in the ass. Because the fucking chief of police that's fucking up here. It's MI6 and all that stuff being asleep on the job. You can't turn back 100 people back to Assad because law enforcement is failing on intelligence for terror attacks.
Or maybe it's because immigration is happening at such a high volume that they just simply don't have the resources to perform the correct checks on all of them.
Yeah. London is the most surveilled city on Earth.
Yeah.
Tell me they don't have the cameras to catch these motherfuckers. You guys they are the most surveilled people on Earth.
Yeah, but you do know that cameras and stuff like that, and then they can record your conversations and they can examine your emails and all that type of shit. But if two guys just meet up in a random location and just meet in an empty room and have a conversation, we've no idea what the fuck's happening. Like, even though that's it's the most surveilled city in the world, but there are ways around it. Like, the fact is that terrorists can still meet, terrorists can still communicate, they can send each other coded messages and stuff like that, and, you know, certain trigger words and all that kind of stuff as well. There are ways around it. Right, the fact is the only reason that we've been able to solve terror attacks, and see the ones like, for example, there was a recent one where a house got raided. There was a full armed unit went in and raided the house and arrested everyone inside, and the only reason that the police knew to do that is because they got an anonymous tip. So despite the fact that we have MI6 and Big Brother is watching you and all that kind of stuff as well, there are ways around it. And the thing that we rely on is the Muslim community basically telling on its own members. And you would be amazed at how many of them are unwilling to do that. Not even just through, because praise Islam and fuck white people, not even just through that. It's through fear of reprisals from their own community. And that
was common here too. We had that issue here too with organized crime. The Italian gangsters, the Italian community, you didn't talk. The Irish Americans had the same problem. To me, in the West, these damn terror organizations just basically function as organized crime, and they should be treated as such by law enforcement. That's the answer, in my opinion, is law enforcement. It's not about who's coming in. It's about how the society deals with the issue through enforcing the law. The laws are there. There is no legal means to establish Sharia law. You could let in 500,000 Syrians tomorrow, and they still would not be able to vote their values.
It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but you can get, see, like you said, where you says that the alt-right's going to come in America and they're going to whisper into Trump's ear like Rasputin and just, you know, sort of slowly but surely build towards that. I mean, we've just had Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, basically establish a Scotland Yard unit that is set to tackle hate crime online, and I'm pretty certain that it's going to focus specifically on things it classes as Islamophobic hate crime, because one thing that's seen as absolutely taboo in Britain is criticising the tenets of Islam. Primarily the things like cutting off people's fucking hands, stoning people to death, and treating women like property and forcing them to wear a hijab. There's no law in Britain that says that anyone has to wear a hijab. Right, and there's a lot of women who.
Wait, are British Muslims chopping people's hands off, or what?
Not yet. But then again, Iran wasn't doing that in the first place either. Then look what happened.
No, but wait a minute. The Iranian Revolution literally overthrew an existing government.
But did you see how many women turned up and protested the Iranian Revolution after it happened because they were trying to force women to wear the hijab? Did you see how many of them turned up to protest that because they says, no, fuck you, we're people, we have individual liberty, we want a choice to be able to decide whether or not we wear a fucking hijab. And the government in Islam said, tough fucking shit, wear the hijab. And if they don't, they actually face legal prosecution or fucking getting the shit kicked out of them by their husbands, because under Islam, that's allowed.
No, it's no one who comes from Iran can implement any of that stuff in the West. They cannot, not by law, not by any means can some guy go, hey, in Iran we do this, and then go, hey, British girl, do this. He can't. There's no way.
Okay then, but say for example, we have mass immigration. Lots and lots and lots of Muslims come over here and they don't assimilate. Several decades down the line, they've not assimilated. They still totally believe in Sharia, and they're now the majority.
No, there's no evidence that people can exist for generations unassimilated in society, particularly in a Western modern secular society. How is it even plausible?
We were once like a Christian country, but we've kind of moved a long way away from that. Like, say I wouldn't for the most part call Britain secular. Like, for example, like even the thing is as well. Like, we used to fucking hang gays.
Not that long ago either. Shit.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, I think it was only even you've obviously heard this whole story about Alan Turing.
Yeah, of course.
Even though he's the guy that fucking decoded the Enigma machine and fucking had a huge hand in probably giving us massive success during World War II, as soon as it came out that he was gay, he was absolutely fucking disgraced to the point where he fucking killed himself. Right.
And like these were ostensibly civilized people, supposedly civilized people.
But then the more and more we moved away from secularism, the more and more sensible our laws got. Right? Islamic nations have to do the same. They have to become non-secular.
But there again, I don't necessarily endorse the correlation between what it's like in the Middle East and what's going to happen when those people from the Middle East come to the West. They're not coming as an invading force. They are coming as immigrants as anyone else, and they will be forced by basic social pressure over generations to assimilate or disappear from this society. People, But
here's the thing. What if they don't?
I don't see any evidence.
There's no guarantee that is what is going to happen.
I would say let history be your guide with the case of the Pakistanis. Those were Muslim immigrants that over a few generations have become part of mainstream society in your country.
Okay, and a lot of them are still seriously believe in Islam. A lot of them are
but again, are we talking about fundamentalism or terrorism?
Not radicalized, but they still, force their wives to wear the hijab and stuff like that.
Well, there's no way to eliminate completely religiosity. That's going to happen in any country. But religiosity is not a problem as long as it doesn't, like you said, ascend into being radicalism, right?
But it's even in the case as well as I thought the entire left was supposed to be, the far left especially was supposed to be against religion in its entirety as a whole.
Yeah, of course. What do you think? You think that I want? I'm just talking about. I'm talking about tolerance, man. I'm not talking about endorsement. I'm not like on board with the principles of fundamentalist Islam. Why would I be?
Yeah, I know, but you know that Marxism in itself preaches the absolute abandonment of religion completely. As in, it's not a case of, oh, you're free to follow it if you want. Marxism preached no religion, no ifs, no buts, no fucking coconuts.
Oh, I don't know. Fuck Karl Marx. I'm not a Marxist. I'm an anarcho-communist, buddy. You gotta read Peter Kropotkin's Conquest of Bread or Pierre Joseph Proudhon's Property is Theft. I'm not a Marxist.
I know, but
Marx is garbage.
Yeah, but you still believe in a form of communism, and communism's built on everybody involved in it having the best intentions. And if there is one thing that is an absolute certainty in the world, is no matter how big and nice and pretty you try and build your society, the world will always have a few cunts in it.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
But listen, I'm not a utopianist, right? When I talk about hate speech laws, I'm not talking about the anarcho-communist paradise. I'm talking my thing is that they have value within existing liberal Western democracies to defend new immigrants from irrational demonization and the scapegoating that as these fucking conservatives engage in these austerity programs, it is very easy to point the finger for Theresa May to turn her head and go, we're cutting the NHS, right? Yeah, Muslims keep cutting the NHS. Muslims.
No, right. It's the fact is, obviously, everyone always rolls their eyes whenever you say the not all Muslims thing, and it's correct. Not all Muslims are terrorists, but a lot of people don't have the capacity. They just think, fuck Muslims, hate Muslims. They're all terrorists. They're all this, they're all that, and everything as well. And there's not really much you can do about people being like as stupid as that.
No, right? But the law does matter. The law does matter as far as being able to weaponize words. Because listen to me, I don't think it's unfair if you know the history of various genocides. It always starts with language. It always starts with in Rwanda it was one tribe calling the other cockroaches, and that metastasized. And in Germany it was verbal vilification first and propaganda against the Jews. You can't get the violence. There was a Slovenian philosopher who said no genocide without poetry. You have to the speech is the first step, and then that escalates.
But even in that regard, has Trump started any kind of discourse, demeaning or going against any specific minority? He's not done anything.
Trump is a kleptocrat, and he's too incompetent to trigger a Holocaust. Trump is. I
don't think it's a case of he's incompetent. I think it's a case of he just doesn't want to. Like he doesn't want to trigger.
Is the guy qualified for the job he's in?
Do you think Hitler was?
More so than Trump. Hitler was more qualified than Trump. At least he had some kind of military background.
God damn.
No, that's just a fact. I'm not endorsing fucking Hitler, but at least Hitler at least was a fucking soldier first,
Right, no, I just wasn't expecting you to say that, man. I got caught off guard.
This is like when I talked to Uzulu. He's like, I wasn't expecting you to be reasonable. It's like, I'm not a utopianist, man.
No, it's just that was just a pretty edgy thing to say. Like, it was funny. Like, I know what you mean by it, though. I know you're not endorsing Hitler or anything.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, look, the my issue with Trump is about incompetence, and the problem is when his economic policies collapse the U.S. economy. It will be people like millennial woes that will come in and whisper, and they'll go, everything's really shitty right now. You know how we restore your sense of pride and personal well-being? We need to come together as a people. But in order to come together as a people, we're going to have to do a lot of killing.
Yeah, but here's the whole thing in regards to that as well. Now, there's been groups in America like the KKK and white nationalist groups who you've obviously heard them talking about the impending race war. The race war is coming. It's happening. The race war is going to happen. And they've been preaching that shit for fucking decades, and it's still not.
Oh no, but that's because. Yeah.
The reason for that is right now, for example, this is where I have a huge problem with universities. Universities are supposed to be a place to teach people to be logical and critically thinking people, right? But instead, what they're teaching now is a radical far leftist agenda to the point where Nazis are bad because they're Nazis. I just personally don't feel it's enough like Nazis are bad because Nazis. It's a case of, I think that the Nazis should be able to have their views put in public so that they can be debated against, so that people can see not just Nazis are bad because Nazis, they can actually see why it's bad. They understand the reasons, so that when they personally are pressed on it, they can turn around and say, well, Nazism is bad because X, Y, and Z. Because see how debates, when they happen in public, the purpose of a debate isn't so that one person can win over the person they're debating against, because that's never going to fucking happen. I've never seen that happen in a debate. The purpose of the debate is to win the audience. That's the purpose of it. So see how, for example, if I went up and I argued against a Nazi, I would absolutely demolish them. And then what would happen is the entire audience would understand not just what Nazis actually truly want, they would understand the reason why it's a bad thing and why it's just not viable at all in a modern society. So see with that, see when you just start beating down people and beating them up and macing them and pepper spraying them and all that shit, people get pity for it. I know that everyone made fun of Richard Spencer, but did you see how much fucking support he fucking got as well?
He got pity from people that already supported him. Nobody that didn't support him was all of a sudden like, you're not that bad.
I don't support him, but I pitied him because he got sucker punched out of nowhere.
You never been punched in the fucking face.
Yeah, I know, but
we've all been punched in the fucking face. I mean, again, Richard Spencer acts like somebody cut his dick off, man.
Yeah, but it's the fact is as well, whatever side resorts to violence first, in my eyes, is the side that's losing. Violence should be an absolute last resort.
History doesn't support that, buddy. History doesn't support that. It seems like violence actually. I'm trying to think of who it was. Who was it that beat Hitler?
Violence is an easy way to win because when you're violent, it doesn't matter if you're right. Right? It doesn't matter if you're the one in the right. If you resort to violence and you defeat people just by sheer power and numbers alone, it doesn't make you right. Okay, and that's how the wrong people can start to win. Right.
No, you're right. Look, I had a conversation the other day with Bering, because Bering did a few videos and we had a discussion. And I can talk to someone like you or Bering or Uzulu. You'll notice that we're not ideologically aligned, but we can have a conversation and we can talk about these things and we can persuade the audience. We're having a constructive disagreement, a constructive discussion. Yeah. Because you acknowledge that I'm a human being. Do you want to know what my debates with Millennial Woes on Twitter consisted of? Him calling me a faggot, him calling me mystery meat because I'm mixed race.
Fuck's sake. Right,
yeah.
Okay.
So what discourse am I gonna if that motherfucker invited me on his channel, why would I entertain a son of a bitch who thinks that I'm the same as a low breed of dog? Fuck him. Fuck him and everybody that looks like him. Fuck him and everybody that thinks like him. There's no point to me talking to him. I'll talk to somebody that I disagree vehemently all day and all night. If you want to acknowledge that I'm also a human being, I'm wasting oxygen.
That's fair. That's fair. If you want to enter into an actual political discourse and the person just turns around and insults you and just goes down the route of ad hominem, then there's no discussion taking place there. It's just a sort of a preschool, slagging match and stuff like that. Like, that's all it is. But
the fundamentals are not there.
But my point is, see if I, for example, went to Berkeley and walked up to Antifa and said, I would like to have a chat. What do you think would happen?
I think that college kids are stupid. I think that college kids punch people. I think that college kids throw M80s. And it doesn't matter whether they have a red and black flag, and it doesn't matter whether they have a handkerchief.
It's Antifa. It's Antifa, man.
Antifa is not a bunch of 35-year-old ex-military guys.
Yeah, but they're not ex-military 35-year-old guys, but they're the ones that are committing all the violence, man.
Well, the majority of Antifa, come on, the majority of Antifa at Berkeley are not adults. The majority of Antifa at Berkeley are pissed off kids.
Did you see the collection of arrest pictures of the Antifa?
Yeah, of course.
That got arrested at Berkeley? Yeah, there was some young kids in there. There was fucking full-grown adults in there too.
Oh yeah, but they're like professors and. The conversation that I had with Bering was constructive in terms.
You said professors, but earlier when I said that universities were preaching a far left ideology, you laughed.
Not exclusively. The idea that it's a conspiracy is my concern. Yes, the left has always had sway in universities because the left is usually people who teach the humanities and soft sciences are going to skew left. It's just a happenstance thing. You're not going to get a bunch of left-wing physics professors. You're not going to.
That's not something that we should be teaching. We should be teaching in a non-biased fashion in universities to encourage people to make up their own mind. I don't like the whole silent guiding hand of this is what I believe in. Here are the reasons that you should believe it. You need to know everything that you want to know about the counter narrative as well. So say, for example, if you're left wing, you need to know the reason why the right believe things and the things that they believe and so on, so that when you're pressed against it, you are equipped with the knowledge to be able to argue against it and understand why it's bad.
Yeah, hold on. A professor should. Go ahead.
No, it's just the fact is as well. It's for me, it's just not enough to be told that this idea is bad because it's bad. I need to know why. I want to know what they believe. I want to know the reasons why it wouldn't benefit a modern society. For example,
hold on a second. Genocide is bad because it's bad. It's just bad because it's bad. You don't need to explain why genocide is bad. Why would you need to explain why genocide?
Nobody's asking for genocide. See, but everyone started posting stuff about Trump and everything, like, oh, he's going to start doing this and that to disabled people, and he's going to kick all the Mexicans out and stuff like that. No, he didn't. See, if anyone that is there in America legally, they're all still there. The only people they want out is the illegal immigrants because they're there illegally. There's nothing wrong with that. See if there was Mexicans that actually had qualified for full citizenship and they had established a life for themselves in America, and Trump went, we're kicking you guys out. That is when I would get vocal and go, no, that's bullshit. That's fucked up. Don't fucking do that. That is when I would get vocal. But see, illegal immigrants, they're there illegally. So
wait a minute,
every country has a right to kick them out.
I just want to clarify something. Your ancestors are Celtic or Gaelic?
Half and half Irish, half Scottish.
Okay, so your people are from that land you're on now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a little ironic kicking Mexicans out of Texas, don't you think?
Well, it kind of depends because, Mexicans didn't exactly own that land in the first place. That would have belonged.
No, I'm not talking about own. I mean, Baja California, those people are from that dirt.
Well, they colonized that dirt first. They all have previous links to the Portuguese and Spanish settlers.
No, wait a minute. But the Mexicans that were in California and Texas, Baja California, our Southwest those people are from that dirt, man. Those are campesinos. They're I'm trying to think of the English word. They're Indian. Mexicans are Indians, man. They're not Spaniards. Like, especially the ones in the Southwest of the United States. Those people they're from natives on that land.
Well, I heard the whole, what was it? I've heard the whole theory that the Spanish and Portuguese came over and had sex with the Aztecs and created the Mexicans. I've heard that.
I mean, no, not everybody mestizo. I'm just saying that those people in Cali and Texas, their ancestors are from there pretty much, man. Mexicans may have mixed in their country, but the people that we perceive as Mexicans and Mexico, that used to encompass that whole territory.
Yeah, but still, the origins was colonialism. That kind of was the origins. Spain and Portugal colonized South America. And they did kind of what the same thing as, white people are always getting blamed for by sticking a flag in the ground and murdering the locals and taking all the resources.
Spaniards are white people, so are Portuguese. What are you talking about?
Oh, come on, man.
They're not Anglo. Wait, they're not Anglo, but they're white Europeans, buddy. Dude, my ancestors were holocausted I'm Puerto Rican, buddy. My ancestors were holocausted by Christopher Columbus. Trust me. My grandfather was a native Taino Arawak Indian. You know what I mean? I got no love for Spaniards, but they were white when they found us. Don't mistake us speaking their language for them being genetically related to us and like an intrinsic, like we're not proximal ethnicities. We just speak the same language because of colonialism.
Yeah. I know, but still, the origin is with colonialism as well, though. Like that was their origin.
Yeah.
It's a case
I understand.
Even if Mexicans and Americans were fighting over that little bit of land, you could make the argument and say that, well, neither of you were fucking entitled to it in the first place. Like,
right. My concern is about a reasonable path to citizenship. If you don't have any damn felonies and you've been living in that land for 30 years and you're already assimilated into the society and you've got a job, and I don't see the point of this mean-spirited fuck you just because you're not documented. Go home. Like, you've made a home there. You've been a productive member. I respect the idea of vetting. Like, you shouldn't be a member of MS-13 and be like, yo, I want to stay SA. It should be it should be like you should qualify for citizenship. I don't have a problem with that. But it shouldn't be this whole like everybody has to go. Come on, man.
No, I didn't say everybody has to go. Just the illegal immigrants that are there illegally. I know there's certain like practices where it's a case of if you're born. I'm not 100% sure about if you're actually born in America. I don't know if that automatically grants you citizenship and stuff like that. Like, I know that because
of course we've got birthright citizenship, and here's my concern: these people have had children here, and they're being sent home to Mexico, and their children are staying here without their parents. Man, like that's out of control.
Yeah, well, maybe you shouldn't have been in the country illegally then. Like,
it's too late for that. It's too late for that.
It's not. It's a case of like, I wouldn't go to America illegally and build a life and just sort of sit there like nothing could possibly go fucking wrong here, and then all of a sudden immigration services are knocking on my door.
Like, the Mexicans that came to America in the 1970s and 80s was because we collapsed their economy by introducing commodities gambling in the stock market. They couldn't make money off of rice and corn, so they're fucked. My thing is, like, I don't understand this whole immigration hysteria when the West is like, we fucked your country, and like, can we come get food in your country? No, fuck off.
No, but it's okay then. Okay then, even if it's a case of we fuck the country, a lot of people are going like that. Hey, can we come get food in your country and all that? If people want to have that disposition, then they can. But you know, it's the other ones. A lot of people aren't coming here for food. They're coming over here to kill the fucking filthy infidels, like, because they blame us for what happened to the country. Okay, it's just that I just don't feel that. Yeah. I should face, you know, being killed in a terrorist attack because my government fucked up. I didn't do that. I didn't want war in the Middle East. I protested against war in the Middle East. I just don't see why the rest of us should fucking suffer because our government, you know, decades ago or whatever, fucked up. But now the government has decided, oh, we're going to be nice now. You need what we need is a good bit of culture. So let's just, you know, let all these immigrants in. Some of them might assimilate, some of them might not. Some of them might fucking run you down in a fucking truck. But you're just going to have to deal with that. And if you don't, you're an intolerant racist, and we're going to arrest you if you say anything bad against it. That's what I've got a problem.
I have sympathy for your position, but again, I always come back to the thing of like sending people back to Assad because 1 out of 100 or whatever number you like. It just seems unethical and again, I support technocratic improvements. We should filter as much as humanly possible. We should filter. I know for a fact that Germany has been too generous and lazy. Excuse me, lazy is the word I was looking for. Germany has been very lazy in their open borders policy. It was a complete shit show. And I am sympathetic to improvement on technocratic means, but I'm not sympathetic to this like they're coming to get us, because that's not going to lead to anything technocratic. It's just going to lead to deportation, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair enough, but it's a case of there is obviously a massive conflict in culture. Like, say for example, Polish people come in here, no one gives a shit. Chinese people come in here, no one gives a shit. The only like area where people start to voice concerns and have problems is with Islam.
Yeah, but the West didn't blow up China, did it, buddy? I mean, like
see whenever, even if you find like find me like a group of 100 racists from Britain and ask them, you know, why do you not want immigration to happen? None of them will mention any country. All of them will turn around and say Islam. None of them will mention any other country, and it's the fact that because Islam just has practices and tenets that just cannot coincide with Western culture is where there's causing a difference in it. See, if people could just come over here and live peacefully and everybody would be happy, I would fucking love that. Holy shit, I would fucking love that, right? But the fact is, if you move to another country, you have to basically come to an agreement and, you know, come to a middle ground where, okay, then this part of my culture isn't viable, but I made an agreement to move to this country, so there are certain things that I am actually going to have to change to assimilate, And a lot of people, there are a lot of Muslims who are absolutely fine with doing that. Right, they're totally fine with doing that, but there are some that don't and refuse to, and some of the ones, you know, the far orthodox ones, are coming here with the intent of killing people. Now, it is a sad reality, and yeah, holy shit, if we have to send people back to Assad, that's fucking terrible. It's shit. It's so sad that we are actually having to send people back to that absolute hell. But it's a case of, like, it's just a sad reality. I'm not happy with it. Like, I'm not happy with the fact that that's happening, but it's a case of we do have to take care of our own first, and that's not just a white exclusive thing. We have a lot of
No, you're right.
This is for their safety as well. It's not a case of we need to protect, you know, the safety of white people. We need to protect the safety of British people, regardless of colour of skin.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with nationalism. I have an issue with ethno-nationalism, and I have a problem with nationalism that escalates into xenophobia. I remember Tommy Robinson, when they were asking him, the Quillian people were asking him, I got to be quick because I only got about 5 minutes, but I do want to make this point about Tommy Robinson.
Yeah.
I don't think Tommy Robinson means to be hateful, but I don't think that Tommy Robinson realizes when he makes certain points that he is being extrapolated upon by people who want something that he does not want.
It's because he just gets branded as a Nazi. That's why. And
Tommy Robinson is not a Nazi. No, he is not a Nazi.
I know he gets branded as it a lot. A lot.
But his recklessly vague language is something that he should be held accountable for, not under hate speech laws necessarily, but I do think that other people should say, Tommy, be more specific, because the more vague you are and the more broad you are with these arguments, the more these white nationalists, the more these Islamophobes can step in and go, I like Tommy Robinson. I like Count Dankula. Count Dankula thinks like me. You see how you're very careful to be very specific? Yeah. Tommy Robinson is a professional media. He used to be an activist. He no longer.
He did kind of already pay the price for that, because he started the EDL, and the purpose of the EDL was to protect people from like Islamic terrorism and all this kind of stuff as well, and saying that there's problems with Islam that just don't belong in the West and stuff like that. However, basically, they didn't do any house cleaning. Everyone was coming in, and there was people that were coming in not with the consideration of British people and stuff like that. They came in with the consideration of white people and fuck those dirty Muslims and all that kind of stuff as well. And eventually the group just became so saturated with not nationalists, but straight out racists, that Tommy Robinson left. That's why he left the EDL. Basically, the EDL just totally ate itself away and just became influxed with racists. And that's why Tommy went, I can't do this anymore. And that's why he had to leave.
Remember that there's to me a relevant distinction between two forms of nationalism. There is nationalism based on solidarity, and there's nationalism based on pride. And I think that nationalism based on pride is dangerous and cancerous to a society. And I think that nationalism based on solidarity is very, very important to holding a country together.
I think pride as a human emotion is one of the most fucking dangerous things ever.
Yeah, because
wars have been fought over it. People have been murdered over it. So many things. Pride itself is dangerous.
Yeah, in any terms. But I do support forms of nationalism that are based on solidarity. I do I do back people who support. For example, in my country, bringing back manufacturing. That's a form of nationalism. It's an economic nationalism. But I do not support people who are very militantly anti-immigrant on some kind of like, well, America's the best. That's hollow nationalism, and it has no value to a society at large.
Yeah, it's just immigration is something that I am fine with. But at a rate, I've said earlier that at a rate our economy can manage, as long as people coming here and people immigrating here isn't a detriment to the economy or jobs or anything like that, I have absolutely no issue. I could have a Muslim neighbour, I don't care, as long as he's not one of the fucking lunatics. See, if he's a Muslim neighbour, then I don't give a shit. I could have a Chinese neighbour, I could have a Polish neighbour, I don't care. Yeah. Right, I don't give a crap about that, but it's just that, see when it gets to a point where you have things like Islamic terrorism and stuff like that, and people don't have the brains to see that, it is just a few. It's a case of all Muslims. I hate all Muslims.
Yeah, because fear makes people absolutists, because that brings comfort when you're afraid. You know, vagaries do not comfort people. Absolutes do.
Yeah, but here's the thing is as well, like, now, whether or not Le Pen is actually going to win in France, I don't know, right? But the fact is, Pen has massive support. And the reason for that is because of immigration in France, and also the terrorist attacks are crazy. They are batshit insane at the moment. And it got to the point where it got that bad that fucking France, started leaning to the right. So basically, see when there's mass immigration that's not handled in a proper way, that's not handled in a way that the police and the fucking economy can actually manage, it will then start to swing the opinions of those people. So it's a case of, see when mass immigration happens to a point where it's totally fucking up the country, people will realise this, and a lot of people will start leaving the left and going to the right. So mass immigration is the left's biggest enemy, but it's the thing that the left are pushing for. We want no borders, and we want everyone to just live happily and all this kind of stuff as well. But it can be done if it's done slowly, sensibly, at an easily manageable pace. But see if that method isn't adopted, and it's totally just fucking up the country. Like, people aren't stupid. They can see when things in the country are fucking up. See if people notice that, they're going to go, no, fuck this. I'm going to vote for who fucking ever runs for office that vows to stop this. And a lot of people, there's a lot of stuff that Le Pen wants that I really do not agree with. And I imagine that a lot of people in France feel the same way, but you'd be surprised how many people are willing to let other people get fucked as soon as it's their own fat on the fryer. Like, there's a lot of people who class themselves as left wing, but they're voting for Le Pen.
I would say that from my research, there's more factors involved in people shifting to Le Pen, like austerity measures by Hollande's party, and Macron was his economic minister, and he wants to follow this Eurozone ethos of cutting social welfare programs. And I think that is more relevant to people pulling away from the French Socialist Party than immigrants. Not that immigrants are irrelevant, not that terrorists are irrelevant, but people vote on economic disenfranchisement first. I gotta head out because I got someplace to be by 1:30.
No. You told me earlier. No, that's no problem, man. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry, buddy. It was a hectic day today. I really appreciate I really appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak right now. I'm not the most beloved guy in your community. I mean,
I think, but the reason that I like you is that you're one of the few that actually talks. You actually talk to other people. You're not exactly Steve Shives or anything like that.
Steve is my friend, right? But Steve, I don't know how I would react if I took the level of harassment that Steve does. You know what I mean? When people are like, "Oh, you're friends with Steve Shives, but you're more outgoing." I haven't been doing this very long, buddy. I've barely been doing this for a year, and I am not as universally a figure of contempt yet as Steve is. So, I think that I have a little bit of latitude because I'm not that big yet. I think my smallness gives me the opportunity to be more fluid in terms of talking to people I disagree with,
Yeah, it's just the reason for it is I just see how, like I said earlier, where it's important that things get discussed in public so that everyone can understand not just what the argument is, but the reasons for or against the argument. That's why I would make, if I was in charge, I would make public debate halls a thing.
Well, they used to be very common. They used to be very common in my country, and then people fucking forgot about civics and all that stuff. But listen, to be continued. I'd love to do this again. You let me know when it's convenient for you.
No, I'm totally fine with that, man. Yeah, that's cool.
And I think we made some good progress. I think that you persuaded me of some things that I didn't think twice about, and I'm hoping that I was able to submit at least some food for thought on positions you might not have particularly been sympathetic to in the past, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's totally fine, man. No, I've got a better understanding. It was a good talk.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, buddy. I'll catch you on Twitter, man.
No worries, man. See you later.
Thanks, buddy. You have a good one.
Peace. Well, there we go. We finally got around to it because we completely fucked up the timing last time. last time we fucked up time zones. That's why this didn't happen. And obviously he's not available today, which is why I had to do it. Like, well, it's not exactly early in the day, but it's early for me. But yeah, thanks for everybody that came along. Yeah, we're probably going to do that again in the future. I'm not going to, like, this stream will stay up. The streams like this are going to get kept on the channel. Okay, and nah, all good. It was a good talk. But I'm probably going to be in the Discord after this, guys. But thanks very much for coming along, right? Cheers.